Okay, now we've got properly recording on. Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. And yes, we get started. Okay, basically week 1 and week 2 we have went through with you. You all can hear me well, Can you hear? Okay. We have any problems from overseas? Ibrahim? Okay, so still okay. So, but I will off my camera in a short while because sometimes when the camera is on, the line can get a bit lagging for some reason. Maybe it's my camera, I don't know. Okay, yeah. But if it's no problem, I'll leave it on for a little while, okay? So that you can see me like you're not talking to a radio or a recording or something like that, okay? That's the problem with online. We get so distant, we kind of feel it's very distant that you don't see people. I don't even know whether you're actually online or not. Maybe you're just putting your teddy bears or your dog or your cat sitting there, watching the screen, and then you go somewhere else. Okay. Hope not lah, huh? But yeah, it is being recorded. So for week 1, week 2, we have done some basic. Oh yeah, hi. Hi, who is that? Ibrahim. Okay, yeah, I see you. It's not a teddy bear, okay? Mm. Okay, and yeah, week 1, week 2, we've done some very basic project management. Not really basic, I mean, we went through it pretty quickly. And I think as long as you have done engineering before, or some form of engineering degree before, or some form of science, even IT, you probably have come across project management. So yeah, we didn't want to dwell too much on that because we feel like it's something that, you can really, we assume you kind of know already, so what we are giving you is just basically some sort of like an introduction so that our following courses, our following topics will actually make more sense in that sense, so we try to integrate project lifecycle, project management, the work management, project lifecycle, all these things with the courses that you will be taking later on. Can you guys give me a minute? I want to go and get my glasses. You hold on for a while. Sorry. Let me. Okay. Sorry, I'm back. Yep. I need my glasses. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we have done that. We've done week 1, week 2. Actually, the syllabus itself says that week 1, 2, 3, even up to 3, that we are going to be doing some of a basic stuff. So I thought me and Dr. Lee discussed, we're saying that, no, we don't want to do that. We'd rather give you more time on some of the more detailed stuff, And the other thing I want you all to note is for any masters by coursework courses, you are looking at a lot of application. Because supposed to be knowledge-wise, we do expect you to actually have some background, especially all of you has all gone through a proper undergraduate degree, and you have actually you have actually been studying before, you see. So most of the classes that we are having here, we want it as much as possible geared towards application, meaning that how you're going to apply those knowledge in that sense. And what happened is in exam is the same, in project is also the same, in assignment is also the same. So you will see that in exams, there's going to be a lot of questions that revolves around you taking the knowledge and using it on some form of project or some form of examples. So we expect you to have examples. We expect people to apply it to their workplaces, and that is better than just stuffing you and stuffing you and stuffing you with lots and lots of knowledge, you see. And we don't want that, you know. So that even for my own master's program in civil engineering, a lot of our things are based on cases, based on application. So you have to know master's by coursework is supposed to be geared towards a lot of application. So bear in mind when you study the notes and when you study the when you study for exams and when you do assignments and all that, you have to know the application, like how you want to apply those knowledge into exams questions. Like exam questions, there will be a lot of questions that is going to be revolving with a project of your choice. You know, how do you construct the work breakdown structure? So you need to have a project of your choice, you see. So it means that you have to apply work breakdown structure knowledge and apply that into a project or apply that into an example. And that is what we aim you to get at. So try to keep that in mind as we go along, and don't just go and memorize every single thing that we give you. You see, it doesn't work that way. Okay. And okay, so we've gone through project life cycle. Okay. And very clearly in the project life cycles, there are many activities within the project life cycles, and many of these activities are processes that needs to be conducted, you see. And or they belong to some form of process, you see, that needs you to complete and do it well so that you can complete the project. And when the project is complete, you basically end up with the product, you know, that you're looking at. For civil engineering, we are mainly concentrating in, you know, infrastructures. We're concentrating, we are concentrating in building buildings. We are concentrating in building, you know, facilities, you know. And for maybe manufacturing and material people, you are more focused on creating some materials or applying some materials or some form of technology into your plant, you know, and coming up with a product, you see. And for people who are in, say, mechanical fully, you know, then you'll be looking at also processes that are required in order to come up with the final equipment or final services or facilities, you know, like lift or pumps or valves, you know. So those processes that is available, and I wouldn't say it's standard. Depending on project to project, you will apply some of the processes, but some projects you don't require some of the processes, you see. For example, in civil engineering, if we do an infrastructure like a water treatment plant, it's very different. The processes can be very different from, I mean, it will be using the same processes, but some processes may be omitted. But compared to when you do a development project, like when you want to build apartments, when you want to build houses, you want to build shopping malls, you know, so they can be very different. Not to say that the processes are different from one another, they are all the same. So we will cover as much as possible all these work processes that is required as part of management, so that you can do it well and complete your part of that work well, you know. And then that part of the work will be integrating with another part of the work, for example, or another part of the processes with another processes. For example, coming up with the scope of work is going to be linked with coming up with a schedule later or a budget plan later. You see, all these are different processes, but they are interrelated with one another, and we need to know that. Okay, so so you can see the work breakdown structure is that we give you, you know, an idea of what sort of processes is available, so that we can link it with what kind of management tools and techniques that we need in order to carry out those processes. And then, combining that, the different things you need to do with the management, functions and the management knowledge and the tools and techniques, we combine them together. Then every processes we are doing project management. We are doing actually process management, but combining all the process together, you are actually doing, or combining all the activities together, you're actually doing the whole idea of project management. Okay, because at the end of the day, every processes you deliver it well, relate it to another process, all together combined later on, you are actually delivering the project successfully, and that is considered as delivering the project you're delivering the product at the end of the day, or the project successfully, and using the tools and techniques and knowledge that is available within management itself. Okay, so that's why we call it project management. Okay, I hope you understand now what we're getting at. So that's why we spend a lot of time on project life cycle, because you need to understand the different parts of the project life cycle and the different activities and processes that goes into different part of the project life cycles, so that now when we speak about the different management knowledge, or the different management component, or different management body of knowledge, we can it actually makes sense. You see, you're applying scope management into conceptual, you're applying scope management into development of the project, you're applying scope management into scope planning, for example. So planning into the planning processes. So we're applying that to the activities within that, so that we can actually successfully come up with a good scope of work. And that scope of work will mean a lot of things, because it will mean that is the steps or activities that you need to do in order for you to finish the project. And that will be a backbone, that will be the backbone later on, that you'll be applying your time management, that you'll be applying schedule and time management, budget and cost management, tendering, contract with procurement management, okay, and communication among parties with communication management, and resolving of conflicts within the site itself with what we call team management. So you see, we are doing that, you see. So yeah, and of course, not every body of knowledge is applicable to every single stage of the project life cycle. So it's just to give you that framework, give you that background of where we are applying the subsequent 12 LUs. We actually have 12 LUs to cover. 14 LUs, but the first 2 is introduction. Now the 12 LUs is going to be fully concentrating on the knowledge, body of knowledge. Okay, the first one, of course, we have to come up with the scope of work. If we don't come up with the scope of work, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because you need to manage. That's the main thing. The scope of work is every activities and processes that has to be done in order to finish the project and get your end product. So what is scope? You see, scope is basically, the scope of project is actually combination of the end product, and all the work that is required to produce them. So scope management basically, it will flow from initiation of the project to justification of your initiation, to coming up with the definition, okay, and then definition of the project, and then slowly refining that into every single detailed components of the project, okay, and then describing the final outcome that you need to have for you to have the product. You can go backwards, for example, like if the product is a bridge, you can go backwards and say that, what do you need to build? You can do like what we call de-engineering. We've got piers, we've got foundation, we've got the road, on the bridge, we've got the bridge systems, the structure systems. So from there, if you're doing de-engineering, then you're going backwards and try to come up with the stacks and scopes, okay? But most of the time, we wouldn't do that. We will go from the beginning towards finally describing the final products component. So from the final products component, like I said, if you imagine you're going backwards, then you are going backwards. Okay, now I've got different components from different components of the product. I'm going backwards and trying to find, okay, what do I need to do in order to do the piers? All right, what do I need to do in order to do the structure or cable structure or road systems or foundation or piling? You know, that is the components, that is the activities, and those are the processes, you know, that is contributing to that components. So then you go backwards again, like what is considered part of those components? Like foundation, do we need to do piling? Do we need to do pouring of concrete if it's a ball pile? Do we need to put in steel cage? Do you need to put in bars? You know, so we go backwards. Okay, again, that is one way, but normally, like I said, we will not do that. We'll go forward. We go like from 0 to a product and a product component. Okay, so the scope of a project is basically whatever that is needed to be done. It's work that needs to be done. So it will explain on the final outcome, again, which means the final components, the final products or final deliverables, final things that will be there for people to see, okay? And all the temporary works, meaning that what are the components that will not be, it'll be taken away from the project in that sense. You know, the things that is needed for the execution of the project. And then of course the processes, the activities, the work itself that needs to be there in order for the whole project to happen. See, so from here, that is what we're looking at in terms of scope, all right? And if the scope is not properly defined, you know, if we miss out on something, it will be very, very, you will have a lot of issues. You will have VOs, variation orders later. You need to recalculate some of the drawings, some of the components, and some of the serious cases is, you know, it's found out too late that you didn't calculate some part of the scope. Then you will need to put in a lot of extra money, resources, manpower, materials in order to fulfill the entire project to make it a functional product. Because if you imagine that you are building a car, but you forgot that you need a petrol tank, for example, I mean, it doesn't make sense, correct or not? So it's very important to define as much scope as possible. Okay. Otherwise, in many cases, you will have issues like the product becomes unusable. Just like the other day, Nick, Norman was telling us that he's doing a lot of project in water treatment plant, you see. So it is, water treatment plant will go from raw water to delivery of the water to the treatment plant. From the treatment plant, the water are treated. And then from the treatment, they will put it into the storage and then out to the delivery systems. So any of these components, if it's not properly defined or you miss out on some components, for example, you forgot or you miss out on designing or you miss out on constructing some filtering systems, or you miscalculate and you did not actually put in enough of storage tank, or you miscalculate the water quality or the water level or where you can pump your water, then you will be miscalculating on the pumps, or you did not put enough pumps to take the water out. So that will later become an issue, you see. And so what we are trying to do is, in order to not miss out on anything at the end of the project, earlier on you miss out is still okay, but as you move along, construction, design, construction, delivery, as long as you start to move into the project, any missing out will cost more and more money, and it will cause more and more problems for the management team, technical problems, and also at the end of the day, it may make it totally not functionable at all. Okay, So project management institute or a project management organization basically says that generally all the scope management, the word scope management basically involves coming up with the scope of work, from initiation to coming up with the scope of work. And when we talk about scope of work, it means the activities, it means the work that will go into the project. Not only the components, the final components of the product. Okay, so you have to go from the scope of work. We are creating that scope of work so that the final product, when it's being built or when it's being delivered, when it's being developed, is actually fulfilling the original requirement of the product. I mean, of the client that is needed. I mean, that calls you up and say, I'm looking to create something, or create a product, or create a project. I mean, I wouldn't want to use the word project, like create a product or create a service or create a solution, basically. So those are the final end product we're talking about. But all the works that goes into that, coming up with the different components of your product, it is very important. And that's what scope management is all about. So we're coming up with that scope of work, and we will suggest you take time to come up with the scope of work, because they are very, very important, and they are very tedious as well. And the more time you spend on it, means that the more time you'll be spending to develop the idea is actually much more beneficial for the product and the project later on during the execution stage. Okay, you will understand your project a lot better. Okay, and you will understand your systems a lot more, and you will understand where are the bugs, where are the not so good components that you can rectify, where are the components that is no value, you want to take it out, or where are the components that you can improve on the value, where are the components that you can make it better, spend more money now, and later on you can reduce on maintenance, for example. So the scope itself is not only defining the final product and its component, but is defining all the works that goes into it. So let's say, for example, we are developing a new coal mine, okay, or yeah, we are developing a new coal mine or some form of energy distribution systems. And what we need to do is to actually what is the, you need to, you know, when the organization says that we want to come up with a new energy systems, you know, like we want to distribute energy to companies, like for example Solar Energy, you know, they usually use hydroelectric dam to supply electricities. So let's say we found a new coal mine in Sarawak, and Solar Energy are being given the task to actually create a new coal mine and do a new energy line, for example. Then that will be the initial very, very broad or general idea of the project. And then after that, we don't really go and straight away say we're going to go and build a coal mine. So we have to go through certain processes, and that processes are being defined by scope management that we need to go through. Preferably, you may not need to go through every single stage of the process, but it is recommended. But of course, there are some process that there are some components that maybe you don't need to go through, because it's you are very, very sure already this is what's going to happen, you see. And but of course, you can skip some processes, like for example, some that you don't need option studies. You know, straight away we know that we're going to build a coal mine. Yes, it's a confirmed thing, and then we don't need any option studies. We don't need to say that, you know, instead of building a coal mine that is this size, we want to build it, you know, that size at different location, for example. Some things, some projects, they are very certain already. So certain components, so you can skip some of the work, but generally the framework is here. So what we're trying to give you is a whole entire framework. For example, when you get a broad idea from your management, from your bosses, from your company, or from the government, for example, if you're working for government planning authority, then it could be just a page, one-page project brief, that you need to further develop. So from there, now we are developing it. We are going through this framework, and the first framework is scope initiation. So scope initiation, all scope will start from all scope. It's just that in the project life cycle, we say that all project will start from ideas, needs, and demands. You see. So basically, scope initiation, any initiation, any idea, something that starts the fire, for example, it will be an idea, it will be a need, it will be demand, it will be some form of that. Okay, and the initial concept, it can come from many sources. Okay, it has to depend on the organization that you're working with. So needs, ideas, and demands will initiate the project. It will start scope planning. Okay, it will start your scope definition basically, and then you need to understand where does this idea come from. If it's internal sources, is it from individual needs? Do you have a director, or do you have a CEO, or do you have a board of directors that have some form of individual ambitions or aspiration, or they have some personal objectives, or their individual needs? If I want to renovate my house, because it's been old, and then I want to live more comfortably, and my children are growing up, so I need more rooms, for example. So that is the initiation. And you need to know where this comes from. If it's from me, that means it's my personal needs, you see, that is my family needs. So organization has organization needs. And then personal, you have people in the organization. Like, for example, the Twin Tower of Malaysia. It is a person, to me, it is a personal aspiration of Tun Mahathir, our ex-prime minister. He wants to build a landmark for Malaysia. So he wants to come up with something that mark Malaysia and mark his administration and mark his time as the prime minister. He wants a landmark that shows that Malaysia can, Malaysia boleh. And same goes with other countries. So you get a lot of politicians have their own party or their own government, their own group, initiate, their own ambitions. So they actually apply that into, you need to understand where does it come from, you see. And then of course there are some part of the company every year, you want to put money into certain projects, you want to put money into certain systems, you want to open up more lines, for example, like people in manufacturing, you want to open up more opportunities, so you want to create more production lines for more different products, so these are all companies' activities to generate profit. So if for me, it's like, if let's say I'm a developer this year, where do I want to invest my money in? Do I want to build, I have my land banks, and my land banks is in from Kuching to Sarawak to, Kuching to Bintulu to Miri, or Cebu, I've got some land banks. So where do I want to develop this year? I want to build, take up my land and develop, or do I want to buy a new piece of land and develop a new? So it's like this idea actually came from the organization itself. So you see, internal sources are usually from the individual and the organization itself. Okay, you could be probably trying to improve your existing process or products, like iPhone 8, 9, 10, I don't know, iPhone 15, 14, I'm not sure, I don't buy iPhone, so I don't know. You see, so that is improving on the existing processes, product, developing new processes, new products, So you may be selling concrete, you may be doing some form of concrete, and now that you've got some new research idea of adding manganese slag, for example, then you want to create a new, like, the research has been done, and then that there's an opportunity in that, and you need to create a new production line. So this is an internal source. So external sources are usually maybe from the market itself. There's a demand from the public, from media, from customers' feedback, from from a specific scientific pattern that is out there, some specific ideas, you know, some fashionable things, you know. Now maybe like nowadays people are saying that, you know, some hydrogen water is very good for your health, and then now, you know, and there's research going on, there's pattern there, you know, so you want to create a machine that can produce hydrogen water, for example, or you want all your water systems to have hydrogen water. So you could probably get the idea from latest research on health, you know, on environment, you know, like say carbon. You know, people say that, you know, you don't want to kill the environment. There's a lot of carbon. You want to reduce carbon footprints. You know, it's a very popular thing. Or it's between country and country. There's new law and legislation that you need to reduce carbon footprint. Like I know China, for one stage, they want to reduce pollution in Beijing, for example. So with this sort of fashionable, very important issues that is from the government, these are called external sources. You know, it's not from your own organization that you want to develop certain products or create certain facilities to combat pollution. Yeah. So a lot of time is a response to a market, to a client, or some form of market survey that you can do. You know, you keep in touch with the current trend. These are external sources of ideas. You know, at this point in time, I'm not even studying the scope. You know, I'm just studying where does this idea come from. I want to make sure that I know, as an engineer, as a project manager, where is this idea that is sitting on my table right in front of me and ask me to develop. I need to know where it comes from, what are the sources that it comes from. Because at the end of the day, those sources will be your client and those sources will be your end users normally. So if I want to create a scope of work and I don't know what the sources of the ideas are from, what am I going to design, honestly? I cannot just close my eyes and say that, okay, I just come up with something. You can, but it doesn't do it. It's going to be wasting your time, because then the end user may complain, or they do not want it. You know, they may need more. You may need to do more research on it, okay? Or you may need to do more market studies, or more economics or financial, or even general demographic studies, or traffic studies, or water catchment studies, or water river studies. It's also, you need to know where is the sources of the idea, who is the paymaster, who is the end user. Okay, so this is the point that we're not talking about now. You go and develop a scope. Well, you need to go back one more step zero, to understand. You see, in the notes of project lifecycle, I put needs, demands, and idea as phase 0. You know, not phase 1. Okay, it's about going back to 0 and trying to find out where number 1, where does the idea come from? Okay, then we will go and look, and after you understand, okay, now this is an organization idea, or it is a, you know, our directors specifically want this, or your company are doing some CSR, corporate social responsibilities, for example. Once you understand the source, the next thing is you need to study 2 important things. Number one is the project, the idea, the issue surrounding the idea. Okay, and then you need to study the project environment where this idea is sitting on. Okay, and the surrounding ideas. Okay, and the first thing is we do issue analysis and management. So with issues, it is like this is a circumstances that is surrounding the project that will give rise to a lot of issues that needs to be considered later on. So it could, the idea that I can give you as a very practical step is, when you put your idea at the center. Okay, let me draw this for you. Okay, this center is your idea or your project. Okay, and when we talk about issues surrounding the ideas, we want to understand what are the things that can affect your idea. Okay, so within the first layer, I'm hoping to hopefully I can draw this, format. Okay. Oh, good. Cool. Yeah. All right. So if we talk about issue analysis and issue management, we'll be looking at, this is your idea, which later will be your project lah, basically, or your product. Then this first layer, we are talking about internal, your organization that is supposed to be carrying out the idea. So how will this organization itself actually, or your immediate well, it's not issues, the immediate it means that the closest to the project is the site, the organization, the people, the most direct thing that can impact the project. Okay, so the most nearest layer will usually be the individual and also the organization itself. Okay, and then you'll be dealing with maybe the technical component as well, and you'll be also dealing with maybe the finance, the capital, the money itself. So these are the most direct item that will impact your project. So these are your first layer of issues. Then we will have more regional, meaning more on the external layer, the first external layer that we get. Okay, so what is this first external layer? This first external layer will be dealing with not your organization, but where your organization is sitting in. You know, if you belongs to Kuching, then we're talking about Sarawak. We're talking about Sarawak legislation, legal. We're talking about authority, not even legal first. We're talking about direct authority. If I'm in Kuching, you know, Kuching, we have got DBKU, we've got MBKS, these are our councils. We have Kuching, the Kuching Water Board will govern your pipeline. If you're in rural areas, JBAO. So it's like, you know, if you are in, like, let's say, Beijing, then Beijing, you know, your project is in Beijing. So I'm not sure about the system there, but I'm sure the local authority will be impacting on your project. Their rules, their regulations, okay, on your technical, on your finances, they will have an impact. And where your site is will also be an impact. The location, the locality of your site. Okay, and also the surrounding things around your site, meaning that the most direct project environment. If I'm going to be building 2 sets of condominium, okay, I need to look at where my condominium is sitting and what are the current what, you know, along that road, for example, or along that area, around that area, like maybe 20-kilometer radius, what are the water pressure like? Where is my nearest pillar hydrant? Do we have any electricity substation? You see, so you need to do a direct project environment study, meaning that you need to look at the surrounding area, okay? And what are the current facilities? What are the current what are the current items that is on. I mean, these are more technical, like where are the drains, where are the culvert, like materials, people, you'll be looking at the sources of materials, because you're looking in Kuching, your factory is in Kuching, then you're looking at maybe NREB, the NRB National Environmental Board or something like that. Okay, I don't remember the full name. You'll be looking at NREB, they are the authority. You need to know where you're going to be putting your factories, where you're going to be putting your production line, where you're going to be expelling your waste and your dirty water and your sewage out to, which river or which drain and which drain to which river and all that. So you need to know that the current facilities needs to be able to sustain your project. Like if you're building raw water intake, you need to know the river that is this layer. Okay, it's not about, this layer is about your organization, mission, vision, policy, objectives, goals, financial status, technical ability, and those are the important things, and where the site are. And then from where the site are, you'll be looking at what are the external facilities. These are not within your control because things are already there. Organization itself, you can control it with your own people. But this layer, you can't, you see. This layer, you have to go around it or make do with it or get used to it or input that in your design or input that in your construction later. Okay, so you need to consider, that's what I'm trying to say. And of course, then we're going to have a third very important layer, which is the overall issues, the overall environment. We're talking about national level, we're talking about countries level, we're talking about law, we're talking about legislation, we're talking about ordinances, we're talking about land codes, we're talking about economic, we're talking about public, we're talking about media, social, other people staying in that area. And we're talking about noise pollution, environmental studies, okay, of the flora, the fauna, the pollution that is going to be it's not directly impacting on your project, but they have impact, you see. So with issue analysis, we want to know out of all these layers, what are the things that can go into the project, meaning that what are the things that are important, you see. What are the things that can impact the project? Okay, do you guys understand what I'm trying to get at here? Okay, so the technique obviously is, it's been listed here. What you need to do is you need to define the you need to search, you need to know your issue, you need to identify your issues. Okay, and like I said, some issues are very, very external, like the third layer. Some issues are very internal, like your organization. Some issues are going to be your second layer, which is dealing with governmental, your local authority or your actual project environment. There are issues. This is impacting, okay, impacting, going into the project. And you study that first because that will affect your design, that will affect your technical, that will affect many things, that will affect your concept. In the institution, it will affect your concept. If your site are sitting on a land that is, say, the surrounding demographic says that people around the area are earning like, 10,000 per month, and then they are consisting of small families, so those sort of demographic will pinpoint to you that, it will affect your ideas, because then you're saying that, it looks like if I want to build a house that is costing 2 million, I may not be able to sell in this area. Not because of people don't want to go there and buy, because they wouldn't want to be living with neighbors that are just earning like 10K or 5K a month, you see. That's very common. And when they open their door, they see all this low-cost housing, like houses that are not so nice. I mean, like, come on, would that be possible? You see, I mean, like, it may sound like a small thing, but actually when it comes to practicality later, when you really want to sell those houses, it will make a difference. You see, so who is going to pump in $2 million into buying a house, and then every morning I open the door, I've got, people. I'm looking at houses that is not so nice, or surrounding environment that is not so great. You see, so I don't want that. Or I drive out my house and there's a huge traffic jam every morning. Nobody wants that, you see. So these are issues that will be, like, you need to know these issues, these market issues or demographic issues, social issues that will impact into your ideas later on. It will go into your ideas. So you need to consider those issues first. Are you still alive? We're so quiet here. Is everybody okay?
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Okay. Am I making sense to you guys?
Logic. Very logic.
Very logic. Thank you. Okay. Ziyuan, are you okay? Can you understand what I'm trying to say, Ziyuan?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You can stop me anytime if you need to discuss on anything or you want to ask me on anything, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Ibrahim, I know you are our students. I know you have been with us, so I think you're used to me talking, so not much of an issue, huh? All right. And I mean, we've got these two international students here, which I'm trying to find examples that hopefully will be relatable to your country. I'm not so familiar with Pakistan and that side of the world, you see. So sorry if I cannot give you too many examples from there. But yeah, for Asia, I'm still quite okay with it. So issues, so you need to know there's many issues. There are many type of issues. Some is very emotive issues. Some is very fashionable issues. Some is very directly related to your organization. It could be a power play between your own bosses. Like one guy want this, the other guy want this. And then they start to go into this. Trying to outbid each other on which project to do this year. That kind of thing can also happen, and you need to be aware, because at the end of the day, idea that you're going to develop will actually be impacted by all these external things that come into the project. So this is what we call issue management. So first you identify those issues, and then after that, after you identify those issues, you pinpoint, you draw that picture that I've given you, like this thing that I've, drawn in. So you can write there what kind of, these are the chart. You can write there what kind of issues, what kind of components that will impact the project. Those are your issues, so you've identified those issues. And then after that, we will look at this sort of viewing is how you identify. These are methods that you have to identify those issues, approaches that you have: condition viewing, undirected viewing, and formal search. So meaning that you can go to some agency or government agency to look for some data, for example, or some market survey from the consumer bureaus, you can gather data from social media. You can do informal search. Say you can do a survey, and then try to put it on Facebook or put it on social media to get responses from the public, or what they think. If you have this, if we're going to build this here, what do you think? So these are informal, formal searches, or some of them are direct and conditioning viewing. Conditioning viewing means that you are trained, you are supposed to be looking, you are very used to looking at those issues. So you're very used, because you've done a lot of projects maybe, so then you can, okay, these are the typical things that we need to do. So those are condition viewing. Okay. And yeah, some identification is you need to go and search for it. Okay, you need to go and find out more, and find out more data. It's all about data and information. To put it very simply, Okay, you can point out those issues, you can point out those items, but if there's any item that you think will really impact your idea, you need to find out more. And these are the way that you are looking at it. You see, like informal search, formal search, and conditioned viewing, and undirected viewing. Okay, so undirected viewing is just like, you read in the newspaper today, or you read on your social media, on your Weibo or whatever, you just like, oh, hey, the government just recently says this, and there are some regulations that's been set down, from there. I mean, at this point in time, you may not be actually thinking about your project at all, but it's just that there are some trend, or there are some maybe it could be like nothing to do with projects. It's like, oh, government says that all school children now must go to school within how many kilometer radius, or what, safety of schools, that kind of thing. So those are undirected view. It's not like you are being groomed to look at those things, but it just so happens that these things actually appear on the newspaper or on the information systems that you are working with, and then you realize that, hey, my project is maybe very close to a school later on. Then you say, ding dong, like that means that there will be more jam in my areas because of the long hours, or because of the regulations that is being put down by government. Like let's say the government says that you cannot drive your car into schools, for example. There's a new regulation. It may sound like nothing to do with your project, but because your project maybe is like 2-3 kilometers away from a school, and you realize that, hey, if you can't drive cars into the school, you pick up my kids, everybody will be parking their car somewhere else, you see. So there will be a need for a car park. So maybe instead of building houses, you want to build big car parks so that people can pick up their kids. I don't know, these are the idea of undirected viewing. So undirected viewing is just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open on government policies, on economic, social development, on legal issues, political issues, and this is where you find your opportunities, honestly, okay? It's about how discerning you are in that sense, huh? So then after that, you will filter issues. Some issues, what I will normally suggest is, with all these lines that you draw, you can split it into 3 types of lines, okay? Very, very thin lines with dotted, and then you have the medium thickness, and then you have very, very thick line, for example. Then these lines here, you can give it different format. And this different format basically will tell you that this particular issue have very minimum impact on my project. This particular issue, if it's a medium line, this one will have some impact, but it may not be so serious. And the thick line is, oh boy, you must look at it, it is important. They will affect my project. It will affect my project conceptualization. So there's no way that you can ignore that. But that is issue filtration. I would suggest something like that. Okay, I would suggest something like that. I mean, of course, you can use other ways of doing issue filtration. Okay, you can use maybe the risk method. Some of this risk has higher impact. Some of this issue has higher impact, lower impact. You can do a table or a chart or a pie chart or a list. Some form of grading systems to grade your issues seriousness. You can do that with some rubrics as well. Those are potentially easier. So if I'm a very pictorial format, I like to see things, with one eye, like one screen like that, then it's a lot easier. If I just use my lines, I will do my lines and I'll say, okay, these are the thinner lines or the dotted lines. This issue will not cause too much issues. You can consider them. You may not want to consider them. It depends, okay? So you can actually look at that. You can actually use that. So once the issue has been filtered, means that there are important things that will actually affect your concept later. You've already got that, then you list it down. We call it issue definition. So you basically highlight those very important issues that you need to consider or get more information or get more data for you to help with the design or the conceptualization of your ideas later on. Okay, so that is issue management. Then we have the EIA. Some country may call it differently, but Kuching, Malaysia, we do have what we call EIA, and this EIA is not environment, it's not ecological issues only. Yes, part of the third layer that you have, it could be an ecological issue. You know, heritage, social, culture, those are all on third layer. So you need to study different things in the project environment. So you have done in issue management those items that will affect the project. So from project EIA studies, this is backwards, this is upwards. Now you need to list down things that your project will affect. Your project, you know, as engineers, all our products, all our project will basically means we're taking something away from Mother Nature. For civil engineering, we're going to build concrete structures, we're going to build steel structures, we'll be chopping down trees, we will be building next to rivers, you know, we'll be building next to seabed, you know. There's a lot of things that we do to actually affect the environment. But this environmental impact assessment is not only about the environmental issue, it's not about the seabed erosion, pollution. It's not only that. It is part of it, but it's not all it is. So you will need to look at, okay, the project environment, the actual project environment, which basically will mean our second layer and third layer. So you have to look at how this project itself that you will conceptualize later, how the existence of this particular facilities, of this particular solution, or this particular development will actually affect the project environment. Would it cause more flooding? Would it cause social issues? Would it cause businesses to flourish? Would it make things better? You know, it will go upwards. Okay. Will you cause more traffic jams? Will you cause flash floodings? You see, so will you cause more pollution? Will you cause more carbon exhale? Will you cause more carbon output? You know, will you cause water pollution? These are the many items that we will be looking at on how our project will actually be an impact when it's there to the outside world. First issue is about issue affecting the concept. Now is the concept affecting what is outside. That's in and out. So basically now if you look at this, you will get an outward arrows. You will get your sorry, not this type of arrows. Delete. You will get your outwards arrow. Obviously, your project will actually have an impact on your organization now. That one is also possible. If you're working for government agency, then you definitely have a project that will existence of this this project will actually affect your organization. For private organization, it probably just means making more money. You know, your stock prices goes up. You know, if it's successful. You know, and then, you know, your board of directors are very happy with the bonuses that you're getting at the end of the year, that they are getting at the end of the year, you know, and then your company gets better reputations, you know, you have done some very important landmark of the country, you know, and then you are on another level, you know, you're becoming class A, triple A, you know, that sort of things. Well, then of course your project will also affect the existing environment, which is next to the project, and your project will also affect the bigger environment, which is the social, legal, you know, etc., economics, businesses around the areas. You know, how would they contribute to businesses around the areas? How would they contribute to the social? How would they contribute to lifestyles, to health? You know, would it make people's life better? You know, so these are the benefit and the costs basically when you're doing the outward studies, is actually the benefit and the cost in that sense. Yeah. How would your project impact outside, in and out? Yeah. And of course, there are another thing that we also want to be clear about is if you want to do an extra step, it means that you will actually from issues to issues, you will also want to do a linkage, meaning that will a political issues be related to a legal issues, or a legal issues or political issues will be related to heritage issues or cultural issues, you know, and those sort of interrelationship between issues, we will hopefully see the project environment a lot better in that sense. Okay, so you can use this sort of lines to actually establish. Again, we can use dotted lines, the thin dotted lines, or medium medium lines, the medium dash lines, or then very thick lines, thick straight lines, to actually identify the impact that you have among the issues itself, or among the project environment itself, among the project, the concept with the project, I mean with the issues, or concept with the environment itself. Okay, so this basically here we are talking about, you know, like sometimes different country we call it environmental impact assessment, impact statement, impact analysis. I'm not sure whether, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's being done all over the world. It's something that is quite common to these days. Okay, I mean, anyone want to share anything? Okay, so it's like a process that orderly and systematically evaluate the proposal, and then which also includes its alternatives, and then to make sure that we think about how our project will actually impact the environment. And like I said, this environment word here is not ecological environment. We're talking about general project environment. And then how including mitigation and management of these effects. So the project's effects on the environment, and how we can actually make our concept better so that it reduce those impact, or we mitigate it completely, meaning that it would not happen. Okay, for example, if I want to build a highway, okay, and I know that the residents there, the social impact is they will have a lot of loud noises. Their noises, the cars, everything will be more, and then their cars, I mean, the sound pollution will go up like, you know, 10, 20 decibels, you know, and it's going to be very disturbing for their health and their social environment. You know, it used to be I walk out of my house, I open the door, I can see birds, I can see parks, you know, and trees and all that. And now suddenly you want to build a, you know, 4 lanes highway or freeway, you know, with 3 layers, you know, and then right in front of my front door, you know, and of course, definitely I'll hear cars, more cars and more cars. And so suddenly one day I realized that every month I get migraine, you know, because of the loud noises. I get headaches, you know, that is health impact, you see. And then the residents will not, no residents will like that, you see. So you need to mitigate. So mitigate means that in your design, in your concept of building that freeway, you have to include sound barriers. You have to include landscaping. You have to include elements that will elevate or try not to change too much of the lifestyles of the people currently there, you see. Otherwise, some countries where the public can be very, 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 very big, you know, with social medias and also a lot of very instant kind of distribution of information, internet and all that. A lot of times we cannot be like in the old days when the effect happens, you know, and then like we can't see the effects until 10 years later, 5 years later, or even 20 years later. Now with the improvement of technology, with internet, with social media, a lot of this public can actually have a lot of say, and they may not want it. But if you have already come up within your concept, because you have already considered that, you will see that it's very easy to answer them and convince them that, you know, we've already put in measure to make sure that your lifestyles, your social environment, and your social your social impact will be reduced on, and your health will not be so much affected. So of course we want to put in alternatives, we want to put in concept components to your concept that will actually address those issues. Okay, you understand? I mean, some examples, I hope I'm making this very, very clear for you. Like here I give you an example. Say if you're going to construct a national highway, you know, electrical transmission towers, major process or manufacturing, industrial estates, development of hydroelectrical power plant. You know, these are very big infrastructure projects. The project environment, you know, is like direct environment, project physical direct environment will probably be the water authority, the drainage authority, the councils and all that, and their regulations. But on the higher level, you need to look at, you know, the external, the outside layer, you may have to look at state legislation. State is ordinances in Sarawak, and then federal, meaning that the federal government will be, you know, you need to look at all the legislation, law that is enacted, you know, acts and all that is enacted regarding to doing this sort of project. And of course, you need to look at publics, you know, and how publics actually discern your projects, especially with large infrastructure project. Would they get benefit out of it, or would it cost them a lot more later on? You see, if you live in an environment that everybody get cancer after 10 years, you know, you kind of think, you know, it may be very hard to prove that it comes from your project, but there is bound to be people who will actually end up proving it, that, you know, the more and more people get cancer because of this plant that is in your nearby, you know, your 10-kilometer radius of residential, for example. So you need to study, you know, this impact of the project going outwards. It's like the flow of wave coming in from your project. In your project, your concept will actually flow out to the people, and you need to study that first before we move in to actually develop and build and design the thing. You see? Okay, so this is an example of these layers that I'm talking about. So legal issues, you can have your direct authority issues, but you can have a state or federal legislative issues like acts and all that. That is going to be on this layer. And then you see how not only you need to look after the current authority issues, but you also need to look at the acts and all that, especially with infrastructure project. Okay. Okay, so then you see the main thing is, what are we looking at here? We're looking at we'll be looking at what are the results of the project, what are the extent of changes, what does these changes actually matters, and then what can we do about them, and what decision makers needs to be informed about what are the extra things that needs to be done. You know, they cannot go in with the idea that I'm just going to build a power plant and I don't care about what's going to happen in the next 20 years to the land, to the people, to the environment, etc., etc. So EIA seeks to answer. This is very important. Basically, it spells out what exactly we have been trying to talk about here. You know, the upwards impact from that zero, the center, what is the effect upwards? That is environment study. Okay, so we can see in the project life cycle, this is only studying the idea itself first. We're not even, maybe with some form of basic concept that we have, like coal, energy, coal mine, hydroelectric power plant, you need to build a dam, or you need to build water supply systems. You know, so these are the center core. Yes, the concept is there, the basic information of the concept is there. So study on where this idea come from, study of how externally what impacts on the idea, okay, and then study how this idea actually impact external items, external components, and then we will fully start to move in to develop the project. Okay, so these are what we are covering here basically on this part one of the notes. Let me save this file first. All right. Okay, do you want a 5 minutes break? Just a quick break to go toilet or get yourself a drink or something? I will continue, yeah, I will continue, say in about 5-10 minutes like that. All right. go and get yourself a walk, you know, stretch. All right. So I'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay, everybody? Or you want me to continue?
We'll take a break, doctor, if possible.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So we come back around before 1, Okay, let's get started. Are we all back yet?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So yes, yeah, we try to get everything done in another hour. Okay, then like I said previously last week, if you listen back to my recording, we wouldn't do like a full 3.5 hours. I don't think anyone can really take that. So I will actually give you guys a separate recordings, and there'll be few separate recordings that will make up for certain things that, you know, certain hours that we did not completely fulfill here. But because I mean we have about 14 LU, so there are a lot of things that we can cover as well. Yeah, so no issue on that. Okay, so then now let's move on to talk about scope definition. So you see, after you have done from the output of the scope initiation and studying the initiation, you know, studying the potential concept basically, after we've done that, the output of it will be a very broad idea on, or a broad what is that, a very preliminary scope of the project, or a very preliminary scope of what should be in the project. Okay, or it could be simply mean, you could simply now know that, you know, we want to build a bridge, you know, that crosses over from kampong or village number village ABCD to village EDEF, and it will be about, you know, how many, you know, is it going to be how wide the bridge, I mean how long the bridge will be, you know, it's going to be what, 1 km, yeah, or 2 km, yeah, or well, we need to supply submarine pipes. We want to sink down pipes and bring water from village from the sources to village ABCDEF, you know, and GF, you know, whatever XYZ. Yeah, so, or we want to build a freeway, you know, it's going to be a 50-kilometer freeway. And this is what we mean by, after we study that, we know that, yeah, this is what we're looking at. Okay, or want to build a house that is going to be 3 stories, 3 layers, you know, and the build up area will be looking at about 5,000 or 4,000 meters square, for example. And these are the components. These are basically what we need to build. And then you can describe the basic information like the sizes, like the length, you know, or the width, or the system that you want to use. For example, the bridge, you may want to use you know, pre-stressed systems, or you want to use like a beam and slab systems, or you want to build a you want to build a box girdle systems, you know. And then the foundation will be looking at using ball piles, we'll be looking at using micro piles, you know. And then, or the house, we are looking at the structure, we're looking at, you know, doing some form of special techniques, you know, like with IBS systems, you know. You basically, from the study of your scope initiation, when we come to this stage, the input to this scope definition stage is generally about the idea, what needs to be done, what needs to be built, what needs to be solved. You see, we have to be very clear about that. Then we can do a preliminary general components or scope. I mean, or scope of what is related to the major components. That's what we mean by expressing it in the project charter. So it could be a document that is about, you know, I don't know, depending on the project, but it's going to be very brief. It's not going to be like 20, 60, 70, 80 pages kind of thing. It will be just it'll be just a few pieces of paper describing, or, you know, some form of documents describing the general components, the what you need to build and the components, and what needs to be done at this each component. So that will be a project charter. And what do we do with this project charter? So basically, from initiation, now we're moving into conceptualization. And this conceptualization, you've already come up with the idea, you've already basically know what you want to build and what are the major components that is needed in order to complete the project. That is the preliminary scope of work that is included in the project charter. So now you have a clearer understanding of what the final product will look like and what the final product will be. And then you will also need to look at some of the other components, like what are the constraints, what are the objectives, what are the goals here. So in project charter, we are from this project charter, after this part, you will get a very, very clear idea. You are actually further developing. You are going to define the scope as much as possible. We are going to refine it basically. So with this once this project charter is out already, okay, we will actually need to move on and collect more information. Okay, more information. As the most important thing is now you know exactly what you want to build, but the information that you previously studied in the project environment, the project, the issue analysis is you may not have a full investigation on it yet. So technically, once you want to build a bridge, you want to study the potential sites. You know, where are the sites, where are the location, and should you need to do any bollock, or do you need to do any ground testing work? What other market surveys do you need to fully complete? Do you need to formulate some form of strategy? You need to come up with some proposal. Okay, so this basically, when we have project charter, we already know what to build. We already know the major component. And even if you can have, there will be some description of the work that needs to go into the project. Okay, and with this project charter, we will move on to, like I said, collect more real-time information. You know, the study that you've done previously on the legislation, you know, you just study based on whatever information that you have. But now it may be important for you to go to water board itself, or go to the water authority, or go to the drainage authority, go to the councils and get their more latest, or you can visit their website and get their latest regulations or latest rules, for example. So you need to really collect real-time information. So once this is all done, we will move into what we call, now this is really to do the scope already. You want to list down all the components that will go into the project, and we call that scope planning. Okay. But before we can move into that, okay, you see there's a difference between scope definition and project definition. Scope definition is just the scope, overall scope of work. But if we talk about project definition, it means that you are going to be defining every components as much as possible, every single sub-components or even sub-activities or sub-activities of the project. That will be a project definition. Okay. So now the major output from the project charter, with the collection of more information, we will move in to develop what we call a scope management plan. Okay, and project charter specify the scope. Okay, but now scope planning will get into more specifics and details. See, so they specify the scope as a bridge, as a submarine, as a department restructure, as a new research project, or a new building, or a new house, or a new development project. Well, scope planning will get down. We will force you to get down to looking at that idea, we want to use the word idea. We're looking at that general scope and try to refine and make it more specifics and make it more detailed. And then we will put this proposal to test. We have to put it to a few tests, okay, a number of tests to make sure that we really want to move on with it or not, okay? The technique that we will be looking at here is to look at the, like I said, you can do de-engineering or deconstruction of the product. You see, from the overall scope, you can actually deconstruct and say that, okay, we've got what component, component A, component B, component C. Component A is piling, component A is the foundation, and component B is the foundation, component C is the bridge columns, component D is the bridge body itself, and then the road systems, etc., etc. So you've got different components. So you can do deconstruction and deconstruct the components into smaller breakdown. And this part here, we will use project breakdown, we can use product breakdown, we can use work breakdown, we can use resources breakdown, depending on which industry you are in. Like if you're in manufacturing, mechanical, you probably do PBS, project breakdown. If I'm in civil, we definitely do this work breakdown structure. So this technique, I will KIV first. I will not go into too much detail first, because next week I will show you how to do work breakdown, how to actually step-by-step construct a work breakdown. And we normally will get into a very specific work breakdown structure. At this point in time, like I said, if you're in civil, you can also do a product breakdown just to get the components out first. And then when everything is confirmed already, we will do a proper work breakdown. But like I said, I do not want to go into too much detail with work breakdown and how to do work breakdown and all that. We will do that later, okay? We will do that next week. The reason why being, this is just a technique to describe your scope of work, okay? To describe the scope. It is not the major process that you need to carry out in order to come up with it, okay? And what do we need to do? What are the things that we need to look at when we want to come up with the scope statement? Okay, you need to look at the project objectives. You need to look at the scope description. You need to look at requirements, the boundaries, the deliverables, etc., etc. And when we do a scope statement, okay, we are basically trying to justify. We're trying to justify that this is something that needs to be done. Okay, this is something that needs to be done. We need to build a bridge from this point to this point with this sort of span, with this sort of structure, with this sort of ideas. Okay, so this is very important. We want to justify. And work breakdown and also product breakdown is basically project deliverables. So the first components is you will list down the project deliverables, okay? And here, like I said, we will explain this a lot more in detail later on, because this part here will be the final definition of your product already. At this stage, you can just take out your project charter, list down the components, and from each component, describe the component that is necessary for you to complete the project, and that will be your project deliverables. So you'll be describing on your piling, you'll be describing on your foundation, you'll be describing on your bridge column, you'll be describing on the bridge structure, you'll be describing on the bridge structure systems, you can describe on the road traffic systems, so all the transportation systems, and etc., etc. So you are taking each component and put that down as the project deliverable. So you need to define these project deliverables, what components that you need to deliver at this point in time. Okay, so we are, from project charter, we are trying to refine it. So in this process of refining it, you take the project charter, take that components, and you put that down in your project deliverables. This document is what we call a scope statement. In this scope statement, the first component, you take the project charter, the different deliverables in the project charter, you place it, you write it in your project. It's like your introduction now, basically, your different components, and describe those individual components and how important they are, or what sort of systems is actually suitable, etc., etc. You can give some ideas on what is the project deliverables, okay? And here, it's just some notes, basically saying that the relationship between poor scope definition, like if you don't do this, you straight away move on into design, and then listing out the work breakdown structure, and then do your construction, do your tender and construction, you will be having a risk of doing a very poor scope definition. You may see the doctor think, why so many steps? Well, basically, every project needs to go through this framework. But like I say, not all projects will go through every single components that we have mentioned about, from the issue to the project environment to project charter, from project charter to coming up with the scope statement. You know, sometimes we can even skip the project charter, go straight to scope statement. That's it, because you are very sure, you are very clear on what to build. You know, some structures are very simple. There's only a few components, but some project can be very complicated with many components. So it depends. It really depends on the complexity of the project, depending on the numbers of components, and it also depending on the numbers of work and activities, etc., etc. So we do not want the major thing is we do not want it to be poorly defined. If the scope of work is poorly defined and you don't put enough of attention into it, your solution at the end of the day, when it being in use, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the end user's problem. It doesn't solve your client's problem. It's not what your client wants. It's not what they need. It's not what they demand. So then you've already spent millions, you know, even hundreds of millions, sometimes billions dollars, and then you end up having infrastructure or a particular facilities or a particular product, you know, or a particular research item that can never be sold. You know, you can never sell it. What's the point, you see? Or it can be never used, or there is a huge level of maintenance. It's just that you want to build a hospital, but you never consult the doctors, you never consult the profession, the medical profession, or what they need, you see, and what is important to them. And then you just go straight away and design a hospital, and you skip all the steps in between of the issues or the environment, you know, coming up with the project charter, doing the proper scope statement. Then you are actually going to create a hospitals that may be having a high level of operation and maintenance cost. That could be one of them. High level of breakdown, very frequent breakdown, or halfway through, you have parts of the buildings that you don't use, even you cannot use it because it's not suitable. I mean, sorry to say this, but this happens a lot in Malaysia. And we you know, taxpayers are spending, you know, tons and tons of money. I think Nick Mang can tell you that, you know, water treatment is like completely, there's so many issues with rural water treatment, whereby, you know, after 2 years, people don't use it anymore. They just throw it there. Then it becomes scrap metal because it's so poorly defined in the first place. I mean, it may look like poor maintenance or poor operation, but in fact, the main reason could be in the initial stage, you didn't define the scope because you did not understand the needs of the public or the needs of the end users. So you go and do something that they don't use. It's not more expensive is better. It's not the more the merrier. It's not about more quantity the better. You know, you can give me a handphone that has like thousands of functions, but me as an end users, my requirement is basically just to use picking up phone, doing WhatsApp, you know, watching some movies, you know, on my phone. That's it. You know, I don't do high level of coding or writing programs on my handphone. You know, I don't do art, I don't do sketches on my handphone, I don't do animation on my handphone. You see, so if you don't give what the end user wants, if you overgive, that's not too bad, huh? But if you undergive and I just don't use it, you see, or I abandon it. And I really think that as engineers, our job is to do problem solving. We're not going to create more and more problems, you know, and create more and more issues for our next generations to solve. And it's firmly a passion in my heart that I think we have to be responsible in really studying the different stages of the scope, you know, before we come up. Some, like I said, not every project will need to go through every single, like you have a checklist of A to Z, and then every project will have to go through A to Z. Some will probably skip J, some will probably skip M, some will probably skip Z, you know. It really depends on your project, but we need to know what is the formal framework. And your scope statement, besides telling us about the project deliverables, we will also write down the project objectives. What is the goals that you want to achieve here? Okay, and what are the main reason behind those this particular concept, and then what is it that you want to achieve? Like you want to what is the yardstick? What is the baseline? This project is going to cost 24 millions. It will take you about 5 years to complete, or 3 years to complete, or 18 months to complete. And besides that, we also have, you need to put in the information on the project requirement. Okay, what is it that is supposed to do? You see, what does it aim to accomplish, and what is the function? What is the major function? What is the sub functions, and what sort of performance? What are the specific requirements, specific functions that is supposed to meet? So we really write it down carefully, so that when we actually start to come up with the final scope of work, these are all well considered already. And of course, project constraints, what is your constraints? You have to study your constraints. Actually, all this information, you are actually doing the study previously already in your project chart. It's in your issue analysis, issue management, and also in your project environment studies. So you already started doing that. So it's not really like something that you extra have to do. Okay, but you just need to understand the site and then put down what are the constraints, what are the technical constraints, what are the managerial constraints, what are the financial constraints, what are the government legislation constraints, and all that. Be very specific. You are taking those thick line in your project environment study and your issue analysis study. Those thick line that we draw instead of those dotted line or the faint or the medium dash line. You take those thick line and then you write down what you are concentrating in studying, whether they will actually cause a limitation to your design, to your solution later on. Okay. And then what are the success criteria? Success criteria basically means that, if you finish the project, how do you measure it as successful? And what kind of assumptions are you making? So you see this list here of what we went through: objective, scope description, project requirement, project deliverables. Scope description and deliverables can be together. What are the acceptance criteria? What makes you say this project, this particular size is okay? What are the acceptance criteria? You can put down what are the codes, what are the design codes, what are the standards that you'll be using, and what is the project assumption, what is the initial project, what is the project, who is in charge, project organization chart basically what are the risk? This is also very important. What are the risk definition? And what are the fund limitation? What are the basic estimate? This part here, you will come up with what we call a preliminary estimates. Okay, not a final estimates yet, because your final scope of work is not carried out yet, not done yet at this point in time. So with this scope statement, it's like a build up. You're actually building up your project charter, and you're understanding every part of this component, and approval requirement, project configuration requirement, project specifications. Some of these are actually put down a little bit more in the description below here, okay, for you to understand that part better. So when we have this scope statement, it will be, and there will be, you will come up with, from all this, you will come up with the actual work breakdown, the components of work that needs to be done. And these components of work that needs to be done, the bridge, you describe the bridge and the works that needs to be done. We have basically finished our scope, conceptual part, okay? And now we are putting these solutions, or now we can have sketches, we can have sketch designs, we will have budgets, we will have preliminary budgets, we will have preliminary schedules, we have the overall scope and the work breakdown. And this scope statement with all the information, the outcome of this is basically your scope statement. What is the scope? The idea is being formed into a very clear component already. Now, what we do is we need to screen the project. Screening is about two things. It's about, number one, with this particular scope of work, do we do it or not? Can we do it or not? That is the major thing you have to answer. So we do project screening. Project screening and selection, it basically talks to us about, it is basically all about what? It's all about whether your organization will actually select your project as the major project or as one of the project, or it will abandon your project or KIV your project. So every organization has limited funding. Like every government agency also has limited funding. So every year when we have certain fundings available to pay for certain ideas or certain between project and project, ideas and ideas, there will be a fight among themselves. And this project screening is, department with department, or project with project, and ideas with ideas. So with the scope statement, you already understand roughly, not roughly, you quite clearly what you are building. For project charter, if you say project charter is 1 or 2 page, then project scope statement you'll be looking at about 5 times or even 10 times the development of the idea from the scope from the project charter. So now we've got this. We cannot call this idea anymore. We've got this scope of work. You need to know that this is the amount of money that the organization will be committing into, okay, or this program, or this let's say IT, they do a lot of programming, they do a lot of new sort of platform, they do a lot of these new sites, like a lot of new ideas. So it's going to cost them this much of money to develop, okay? And basically it's already stated in the scope statement. Inside there, you say that, okay, there's this market, we want to create a new platform for housewives to go and buy material and food and and all that. We're creating that new platform, and then this new platform can be versus another department's idea and platform, and other things. And then your organization may not want to pump in that kind of money into your project. So this project screening is basically project screening, meaning that it's idea versus idea. It's not about option versus option. Okay, so once you have that scope statement, you need to put it through a robustness test, and this robustness test will actually is what we call project screening. Okay, and that is like I said, a fight among the among the projects, and the fight among portfolios, a fight among the different agencies. Even like if you have a federal government, they have only this amount of money, and the drainage agency will be asking them for drain, for flood mitigation. The water board will say that we want money for rural water supply. So which one is more important? Which one is more essential? Which one will make more money? Which one will give more profit? So depending on agency, like government agency and non-profit sectors, normally we will want to meet major political, cultural, socio-economic, educational objectives, okay? And those sort of things are not so much on making money. It's more on doing public goods, okay? Doing end users, like public, you and I, taxpayer, we get a better lifestyle, we get a better supply of electricities, we get more conveniences, we get better Wi-Fi's, and those are what government sectors are looking at normally when they're trying to match which is more important, which segments of the public is actually really very poor, which segment of the public is not getting enough, not even getting clean water, which segment of the public is living in a very, very poor condition, and which segment of the public still have to use river to go from one place to another place. Yeah, so they make decision, they make yes or no, they decide on what kind of portion to give to which agency, depending on this sort of objectives that they're looking at. So they will do selection and project screening based on the public needs, basically. So if your scope statement put down, you've done enough of survey, you've done enough of study, then you will know that this is something that your government agency has a better chance of winning that funding or getting that funding or a bigger funding, or your department knows what your boss actually wants. Then it actually makes you in a better situation to win that project. Your project becomes the winner. To the organization will be the supporter for that. For private sectors, normally it's about profit, about value, about shareholders, about making more money and giving more bonuses, and bringing in more income for the next major project. Those are normally private sector will look at things like that, unless it's a CSR project. They do social corporate responsibilities to elevate their corporate image. That could be maybe a not so profit based, but it's more, but the goodwill and also the amount of money that they are going to earn in the future. Maybe they want to do this project not to make money from this project, but to give a good impression to government that they are a very responsible organization. They are doing well. They are good people. They're good citizens. They're good corporation. They're very good businesses that support the local economics. So the government will give them a new land or a new opportunity or a new license. It could be something like that. So it may not be a direct money making one, but it could be related to some benefit that is behind having certain image or goodwill. Okay. And that is what private organization will generally look at. So non-profit, that will be more on a charity, trade organization, social organization. They are looking at mainly the needs of their members or their children or their women, or whatever, depending on the charities. Like one of my friend runs a non-profit organization. Like she is a principal for a school of mentally retarded children. So those sort of organization, they will have a need of maybe constructing something or bringing in some new technology to help with the mentally retarded children. So they are not profit driven, but it's driven by the needs of the children who are actually sick or ill or not so capable to look after themselves due to some mental retardation, growth problem. Okay, so those are non-profit sectors. So essentially what we're going to do is we will have initial screening. We will look at, well, is this project okay? Is it project doable? Normally is you ask the question whether it's possible, whether it's economically, number one is always, can it be done? And then of course, number two is whether it will be good value, whether it will meet certain objectives or meet certain needs or meet certain requirements. And then after that, or meet certain aim or goals of certain people or certain group of people, then from there it will be picked. And then we will move on to do, you can do a feasibility. I mean, this part here is you can do a feasibility studies, but then I would say feasibility studies, normally we will look at possibilities, whether it's possible. This part of the feasibility studies is more on the technical and financial, meaning that overall this project, if it's ongoing, does our company have money to support it? That do we have is this project technically possible? Possible means that if you want to build bridge or do submarine pipe, the environment needs to be technically able to be sustaining or putting it at that location, you see. So feasibility studies, usually at this stage, it will be revolving around these sort of things. Okay, so not so much on options again. It's more on whether the project is doable or not. Can you proceed with it? Or do you have the money to proceed with it? So these are the major issues that we'll be looking at in terms of feasibility studies, whether we want to have a go ahead, yes or no. The main question here is yes or no. Which one are which project are we looking at? Which idea are we adopting? So you can have some sort of evaluation criteria You can design your own evaluation criteria, give a marking systems, and then see which project scores better. Some bosses may want to see that. Some bosses, they already know what they want, or some organization, they already know what they want. So this part is basically already out. It's a yes or no. Do you want to do it? Can we proceed with it? And then after that, also you want to, some will study the payback and all that, like general payback, return, net present value, the economics part of a yes or no. Okay, all these things are yes or no, I'm trying to say, because later on this will be repeated in option studies as well. Option studies, we will also need to do between options with options. So now you're saying, okay, this is a yes, we're going to build a bridge, or we're going to build a 60-kilometer freeway, we're going to build a new school for the mentally retarded. And yes, we've already got that scope, and then yes, we're going ahead with it. So now you're putting it through tests, meaning that you create options with options and then try to find which option will actually bring in more cost, more benefit versus cost. Okay, we don't want it to be high cost and low benefit. Okay, so this is the part that we will do some tests on it. So putting project scope with tests. The upper bit is more on yes or no, are we going ahead with it or not? And that with this scope or not? Yes, we're going ahead with this scope. So now we need to further develop. Yes, we need to further develop the components into more details, and then putting in different options with different components, and then see if we can have a better value, see if we're going to be paying the same money but having more, the more, I mean, like in Malaysia, we all Asians like this, yeah, you pay $1 but you get $2, buy one get one free, if we can do that, why not, isn't it? Yeah, that is what most of us will be wanting, isn't it? Okay, so I think I will stop here, because this one here, if we continue, there's going to be quite a fair bit of things to move through again. Okay, and then next week we finish up with carrying out the work breakdown structure. So with the work breakdown structure, you will be proceeding to do your assignments as well after this. Yeah, and this bit here, we will I will continue with option studies, feasibility studies, and option studies. And from feasibilities and option studies, we will end up with the final segments, meaning that you are actually going to come up with the work breakdown, the actual product breakdown and work breakdown. From the product and work breakdown, we will go into scope control, scope monitoring, and scope controlling. So that will be next week class. Okay, so from options onwards all the way to final scope of work, designing the final scope of work, and then putting that into a format called work breakdown structure. And then from there we do scope control and scope monitoring, and that will be what our scope management will be all about. And scope management, I'll be giving you an extra lecture. I'll be giving you an extra pre-recorded lecture on life cycle costing, which is going to be part of scope management. I will point out to you next week exactly which part of scope management we're going to do life cycle costing and also value engineering. So I will give you about 60 minutes. I think there will be about 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. There will be about 66 recording with about 1 hour kind of segments to talk about scope. It's also part of scope management. So basically for scope management, you get first lecture from me, second lecture next week, and then I'll give you a pre-recorded lecture on life cycle costing and value engineering. And then Dr. Lee will come in after this to tell you more on the how to do all this, how to do economics, how to do studies on payback accounting is what we call engineering economics. But I don't want you to get confused with economy, or like looking at economic impact sort of thing. These sort of things is mainly when we want to do options with options. We want to study the benefit and the cost, and then we have got a few formulas what in economy to study whether this option is better or this project scope is actually going to make money, and whether it can be better, for example. And value engineering is more like how do you make it more worth it. Life cycle is about how to make your scope more careful in terms of maintenance and operation later. So there's like extra things that we need to look at. So basically scope management, we're going to have about 1, 2, 3, 4 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Four lecture on this. It's quite a lot. Okay. Any questions so far? If not, then I will move in and give you your group project first, and then I'll explain on the group project. And then me and Dr. Lee have discussed already. The group project will be in a way that will actually move you guys from topic to topic. It will be flowing like the topic that we are going through now. Okay. Any questions so far? Anything you want to share with us about this scope management at this point in time?
Yeah, Doctor, actually, I have, I think one comment regarding the scope triangle just now.
Yep. Which one? The time cost triangle?
Yeah. I think now,
This one?
for current, yeah, this one and the last one that you showed just now.
The last one. This one. Oh, yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, this one. Yeah. I think now, we also add in safety in this scope, right?
Yes, because
Does it also how to say applies for this scope triangle? That is my question, Doctor.
correct. In traditionally, we like to, in all my classes, I actually prefer time, cost, quality, and safety, you see. And to carry out scope, and then you make sure this, but safety as compared to project itself, time, cost, and quality are very much part of the project. It's like the bone and the meat together, you see. But safety is more on like there is an external component to it, meaning that it is actually carried out, it's actually applicable to basically the workers and also the integrity of the building. The integrity of the project itself, we normally will cover that under quality. But safety, like I said, is more on occupational health and safety. Am I correct? Is that what you are looking at?
Yeah, but I think this is my opinion, Doctor. I think even not non-construction project, for example, maybe for manufacturing, if we manufacture a product, I'm not this is my opinion lah. We also have to, I think, integrate safety in it. I mean, in terms of how the public, if they use the product, will it like cause any hazard to them? It's just my opinion lah, Doctor.
Yes.
What do you think? Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Okay. The reason, like I say, when we talk about this triangle, normally we write TCQ, you see. Why? Because TCQ is like the project scope is like your bone. You know, your TCQ is like the whole everything that is attached to that bone. TCQ applies to entire project, starting from every component. You get what I mean? It's like time. You need to look at time for scope. Time, it's a component that is very essential. What I mean is this tree sticks to the project scope very, very strongly, whereby safety, it is important for every project to include safety element. And that is why for construction, for manufacturing, for almost all industry, we are concerned with safety. But safety is only usually applicable to the people, the person, the human being components of the project. Like the safety of the public, the safety of the users, when we're building it, the safety of the workers, the safety of the management team, and then the safety of the end product that you will give to the end users, and whether they will be safe for them to use for the next 20, 60 years. If you build a chair, if you build a car, will there be safety? You need to include safety. Definitely. But the reason why the picture only shows TCQ and safety is not, if I were to draw this, safety will be like coming out of it, it's not compassing, it's not like sticking together. Okay, safety is like a component that deals with the people element, whereby safety, time, cost, quality, it deals with every element. It deals with the people, it deals with the machineries, it deals with the processes, it deals with the labor, it deals with the public, it deals with everything. And then it deals with the material as well. Almost the entire project from A to Z, you're dealing with time, cost, quality. I'm not saying that you have to ignore safety. Jessica, you get what I mean? I'm not saying that safety is not important, okay? Definitely it's not important. The reason why, like I said, it is not like drawn as part of the TCQ, because safety is on the people, more on the people aspects, not so much on the other components. I mean, of course, you say that machinery, and material also, we need to include safety aspects, but then it's always the people who are actually running it, the people who are actually studying it, and all that is very important. And the impact and effect are usually on people, you see, not so much on the overall project itself.
Okay, so Doctor, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's like saying that this is the main 3 components that is for this particular particular subject. However, safety we also included. It's just that it is like sort of like a secondary thing. That is my understanding.
I would not say secondary, but
not secondary as well. It is as important as these 3. Just that for this triangle, it's it included in these 3 lah.
Yes. Like you guys, you will be having a special course on occupational health and safety management later. That will be part of the major core subject. Risk is also in a specific subject. Like if you're saying to me that, is risk an important part? You don't see in this particular subject, project management, because we've already taken it out and put it in a one subject by itself. Even quality, I will not cover so much in this course, because quality will be covered completely in another quality management class that you will be sitting with Dr. Shelley, myself, and also in fact, I think in the list of the subjects, quality management will not be in this subject, because we already take it out completely and put it into one subject by itself. So occupational health and safety, occupational health and safety, risk, and also this one, what we call the quality management, it will be another subject. So I'm not saying that this is not important, you see. I mean, like, it is important, but then the way that we treat quality management, risk management, and also like safety management, we need to go more specific, like in that sense, yeah.
Okay, Doctor, thank you very much.
Okay, maybe yeah, I mean, like, I know you want to say that the triangle should include safety in terms of the in terms of putting this scope there, correct now? I mean, my thinking is it is not there because it's not important, or it's not because it's secondary, but it's because the way that when we develop the scope, time, cost, quality is the 3 major things that has to be considered when you're developing the scope, whereby safety can be, once the scope is determined, we can separately develop it. You get what I mean? Does this?
Meaning to say it's like this is during the planning stage, planning of the scope, and then when we during the execution stage, then safety is one of the major components as well. Not saying that during the planning stage we do not consider the safety lah.
Yes, I mean this is very early stage, because when you're developing the scope, right? You know, the major things that the most important three things that you need to consider is this three, because quality also deals with the integrity of the product and all that, correct? Now, so TCQ will be the first thing that you consider. But once the scope is already developed, okay, once the scope is already developed, and then you are moving into like design, okay, the design of the product itself, like the actual designing, then you start to consider safety. Then you will start to consider you it's like you're adding on safety to it. The second stage.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
I'm also trying to find ways to explain it to you
I
better.
think because last time, and then I think maybe now my normal practice is we usually see time cost safety, and then now is why is safety not included? It's not meaning to say that there's no safety in this during this stage. It's just that it's just that during execution there's a next step to it lah, Doctor.
It's like the second phase.
Second phase. This is the first phase. Maybe because I'm not involved in the first phase usually, so I'm not aware of that.
Could be. Because
very good information. I learn a new thing today, Doctor.
no problem. Because you see, like for engineering, most of it, if we are in the early development stage of the project, like when you're in step planning authority, or you were working with developer, like you are the one with Pan Borneo, right?
Yeah.
So you see, you are already in the execution stage of the project.
Yes, Doctor.
You were not there when they start to plan Pan Borneo.
Yeah, no. I was still studying.
Yes. So
that time also time cost safety.
yeah. So now it's more like at this point in time, you will be considering time, cost, quality, safety. You see.
So maybe my other classmate has any. Sorry, Doctor. I just want to hear opinion from my other classmate if they have any opinion regarding this.
Sure. Because but it does not mean that in the planning phase, we ignore safety too. You see, because this is too early. This is very, very early where you don't even know the scope of work. Because when you want to manage safety for different projects, you manage it differently, correct or not? If I'm working for a bridge project, if I'm working for a structure project like a high-rise building, compared to I'm working for a Pan Borneo kind of project, my safety requirement, my safety planning, my safety arrangements are very different from one another. So
yes, agree, Doctor.
Safety is the part that it will come in after you finish doing the scope of work.
Okay.
But it will still also be in the planning, because you need to come up, like in the project life cycle, we've got project conceptualization all the way down to project development, and then finally we've got the project planning. In the planning step, you will see that I put the word safety there already.
Yes. That's how I remember last week you did mention safety, but this week, no more.
This is very early.
Okay.
This is very early. Like let's say I'm working for a developer, you see. I don't think about safety first. I will only think about time, cost, quality first to develop the idea of how many houses I want to build and all that. And then it's only during the stage that when I'm doing the final design that I will start to bring in safety already. The final detail design is also part of planning, but this is different planning. This is different type of planning. This is like the second phase kind of planning. This is trying to plan for your actual product already, you see. So this is where safety will come in there. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes it's good that you ask this question. Nanti, saya ada kelas sekarang. Tunggu sebentar, ha? Yeah. So yes, we will have like issues. I mean, like it's good that we discuss this. Otherwise, sometimes when we use some words like planning again and again, it kind of get confusing lah. I mean, sometimes these terminologies because there's no other English words for it, so we keep on using the word planning, planning, planning. And they go, how come scope planning you don't see safety? But actually, safety planning only comes in the later stage, when we try to before execution, you need to. But if you're doing it during
Implementation stage,
execution
doctor.
stage, it's very late already. Also, yeah.
In my opinion, during implementation stage.
More like pre-implementation. Even before tendering, preparation of documents, you have to start doing it already. Yeah. Definitely after you have the work breakdown, but if you can see, when we do project planning, first we will have our design, we will have our work breakdown. After our work breakdown, we will start to plan for number one, resources. Number two, time. Okay, and then we also plan for our cost and our safety. So because safety will also be part of time and cost and quality so this is the stage that we were implementing time, cost, quality, safety. This is the triangle will be time, cost, quality, safety during the project planning stage. And this is pre-implementation. To me, implementation already means tendering, already means going into and deliver the project and monitor the project already. Yeah, Nickman, is your implementation the same as my implementation?
The same, doctor.
Okay. Yeah, so if your implementation is more on delivery means construction, then no. Yeah, our implementation means that when we got our scope of work already, we know what is the work that we need to do. Then from there, we do the implementation of the design, implementation of the planning, of time, schedule, of budgets, final budgets of the quality plan, safety plan. Now, this is where we see the word safety coming in. All right, so I hope everybody's happy with the answer. Nickman, and anything else you want to share with us?
No, doctor, because of everything is perfectly well said, and also some of the issue rise up, matters rising from our student, or not our student, actually our considered colleague. It's quite true too lah.
Yeah.
But that one is come during the implementation stage, I think, in my opinion too, doctor.
Yes,
Not
yes, correct, correct.
opinion and opinion.
That planning is different from this planning, yeah? Okay, I think Jessica is happy already lah. Yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah, very, very.
otherwise she's
That's why I was
feeling like,
like,
oh
just
my
confused.
gosh, I have been doing so many things that is not the major part of
Yeah,
the
that's why I was, what am I doing? Am I doing my work correctly or not?
No, don't worry.
Yeah. Just that I've never experienced that stage of planning. That's why different stage lah.
Yeah,
But
different
okay,
stage.
now I'm very clear already lah, doctor. And also Nikma, thank you for your input as well. And I think Di Juntek asking a question in the chat box, doctor.
Okay, let me go and find my files for my assignment first. Then I can answer his questions. Let me see, where is my I thought I did it yesterday. Dr. Lee and I were discussing on the assignments and also yeah, there you go here. Okay. All right. Okay, now let me have a look at what Juntet wants to tell me. Okay. Is House of Quality? House of Quality? What do you mean by House of Quality? Juntet, can you explain to me? I mean, as a civil engineering, is called occupational health and safety. OSHA is definitely for the workers, for the labor. Okay, and and also to some extent we need to safeguard the public lah. Like for example, Pan Borneo Highway, when you put your pipes out or you put your material on the roadside, you need to put out, you need to put blinking lights. You know, when you dig a hole, you need to put tapes around it. You know, those are under occupational health and safety for construction work. Okay, and those are very important things. Otherwise, you may kill some people who are driving on it. You see. So that is OSHA. Can you explain to me what is house of quality? I've never ever heard of it before, honestly. Is it something in mechanical and material that house of quality? Quality, no, so it's safety. Sorry, I'm talking about safety. Then quality is what? Is it one of the concept of quality?
Yeah, doctor. Actually, this HOQ I ever used in like for mechanical IDP, which is the integrated design projects. From this HOQ, we will put every engineering element inside, and then on the other side, we'll calculate on the benefits.
Parameter.
So
Are you
we
going to
come up with a
calculate on
scale.
the acceptance
Yeah.
criteria and all that? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think this is a very specific. Okay. You see, the triangle itself is time, cost, quality. Whether it's called HOQ or whether it's called TQM, or whether it's ISO, you know, whatever terms that you call it, quality management is definitely part of. Quality is definitely one of the elements in the TCQ. So your question is definitely yes, because you see the triangle just now? Let me show it to you again. Quality is here, you know. Usually triangle will have TCQ, TCQ, okay, and then the resources are to provide TCQ, okay. This is a way of this being drawn now, and then scope is definitely the scope of work. So the TCQ for the scope of work. So quality is here, definitely. What you are talking about is mainly the, like, see, time, cost, performance. Performance is quality. Okay, your quality. If I were to change this, this is definitely quality can be in many versions. Okay, one of the criteria is performance. One of the other criteria is whether it's fit for its intended purpose, meaning that does it do what it's supposed to do. You know, if I were to build a pump, it will run. If you say that, you know, 50 RPM, then it will run 50 RPM. That is that is what is intended to do. Quality can also go to other level, like whether it's going to be minimum maintenance. So if I build a car, if my quality requirement is just the car can drive, you know, like the car can drive on the road, and then it will not break down, you know, and then the size of the car, you know, is like it can fit 5 people. They're very standard, you know, like in terms of car design. So these are very basic. And then if you want more, if you specify more things, you know, like for example, I want my car to be high performance. High performance means that if I want to take it to racing, you know, I can step on the accelerator pedal, and in 60 seconds, I mean, in 1 second or whatever, it can go from 0 to 60 or something like that. So again, quality is very much specified. Why is it so close to scope? Because it has to be determined at this stage of what your project is supposed to do, you see. It's not about, like, if the scope of work is designed in such a way that the project will be aesthetically pleasing, means that the quality bit is it will have to look good. So then when you design your scope, that is a component. When you design for high performance, your scope of work, how you design the scope of the project, of the product itself, it needs to be high performance. There are elements in there, you need to put in certain things that makes it high performance in there. So that's why TCQ is really like it wraps around. It's just like what I'm trying to say. You have a bone. The bone is scope of work, and the TCQ is immediately wrapping around that bone. It's like it's together. It's sticking together. You know, so you cannot just take it out. Okay, so of course quality. I wouldn't say HOQ is included in the triangle. No, you should say the word is quality included. Of course, definitely TCQ is included. HOQ is just your industry's one of the way to monitor project quality. I would say it's one of the techniques or one of the tools or one of the processes that will be included in the project itself to monitor the quality aspects or to set the quality or to set down the quality first and then to monitor it. Am I right?
Yes, you are correct, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Quality management, we will cover project quality. That's number one. That I will be covering 2 sessions with you. Then the others is going to be done by Dr. Sheikh Tamizi and also Dr. Shelley. Both of them are from mechanical and manufacturing. So you guys from mechanical and manufacturing, you will start to see a lot of this HOQ, you know, statistical processes, you know, and all that in 6033. So we will you are studying 6033 now, right? Correct? Now on Sunday. Are you all taking 6033 or some of you are not taking 6033? Quality management.
Yes, I'm taking 6033, Doctor.
Yeah, you should ask them to explain house of quality to you more lah, because I think this is not something that we apply in civil engineering much. Civil engineering, I think our quality standards are, we are basically using certain standards and also some statistical processes and more on data collections and also studying of the data using some form of technique like fishbone diagram and also control chart, not so much, because control chart, unless we have a lot of laboratory kind of data, otherwise we don't use control chart, but we use a lot of checklists. We also use a lot of rubrics as well. And manufacturing people, honestly, manufacturing people are a lot more advanced compared to civil people. Manufacturing in terms of quality, manufacturing and mechanical in terms of quality management has always been at the forefront. Last year, quality management is taken by Dr. Shelley, myself, and Dr. Lee. Then we realized that we are not good enough to teach you on quality management because we are from civil background. Our quality management tools and techniques are not so many, not so many and not so advanced compared to manufacturing mechanical people. Yeah. And that's why this semester we got more of the mechanical people, like almost 90% is mechanical people and manufacturing people taking over to do quality management with you. Yeah. But in this scope management, project management, oh boy, we love quality. Time, cost, quality, time, cost, quality. It's always about time, cost, quality, that triangle, the TCQ triangle. Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, quality must be included when we talk about scope management. But quality management for certain industries are a lot more, I would say it's a lot more advanced and it's a lot more detailed and it's a lot more database, a lot of data, a lot of small data. I'm pretty sure manufacturing, like material people and also mechanical people and material manufacturing people, they can tell you that they look after quality very specifically. The reason why, because civil engineering, our sites are actually very big and we are actually very much affected by the environment, like rain, like flooding, like water. We have a lot of external disturbances that makes our quality management not being able to be so specific, whereby manufacturing, because you are in production, manufacturing, materials, mechanical, you are actually in a more enclosed environment, and you already take out a lot of external impact and a lot of external disturbances. So the data that you collect can be processed in a very meaningful way to address quality issues. Whereby for us, if we collect some data, it may not be as meaningful because it's already been tainted or it's being polluted by external issues. Yeah. Because our site is, it can be like hundreds of kilometers. It can be like over different ground conditions. It can be work can be done at different different stages under different weather conditions. So it's a little bit more difficult for us to use very specific, very detailed kind of data collection and study. It makes sense to you all when I say this? The difference between, quality management between mechanical manufacturing versus civil, huh? Yes, but I think your house of quality, now that you explained to me, is about setting certain requirement. Am I right? Like you set out certain requirement. This is your work, and then this is your acceptance criteria. It must be plus or minus how much, when you check, and how you check it. You plan for it, and then you monitor, and then you check, you collect data. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct, right?
Yes, you are correct, Doctor.
Okay, good. Can you give me a second? I think I've got somebody at the door. This is coming to do these online classes can be very disturbing. You horn.
It's okay, doctor. Take your time.
Okay, sorry everybody. Yeah. Anything else that you want to discuss? If not, then I'll move on to assignments. I mean the group project. Time times cost times performance quality. Yeah. You have enough time, you have enough cost, you've got like a specific performance. Yeah, you can have quality. Well, this is an interesting formula. Anyone wants to study that for their and anyone wants to study this for their final for your research project? Come up with a formula for it. Yeah, you need to prove the formula.
Very tempting, but might need to consider first.
No one wants to do under me. Okay. Right.
Not yet, doctor. Actually, I want to ask. For I think maybe most of my other classmates are taking full time, but however, I'm taking part time. So for part time students, do we need to start to look for our topic now, or do we need to we just wait until next year?
Are you taking RM at the moment?
No, I'm not taking that for this semester.
Well, it depends on yourself. You're not taking RM, then there's no urgency for you to straight away look for a supervisor or a topic. Okay, no urgency at all. But if you are saying that, you know, if you you guys are taking RM, I think you see in the group, Dr. Lee is already telling people go and look for a supervisor because they are taking RM. What Dr. Abdullah is doing is they are taking your RM project as an example of what you do to hand in the assignment for RM. Okay, so you can wait until next semester when you want to take RM, then you take, then you pick a supervisor and pick a topic. That's fine. But since you're already here, like you're starting the MSc EM already, and you're starting to know a lot of different lecturers and what they're capable of and what their areas are like. There is no harm for you to talk to them first. Okay, I personally, because RM is very, I mean, for RP, you guys only do 2 SEM, meaning RP1 and RP2, and many students, I find that they cannot really do a good job over 2 semesters. For Masters of Engineering in Civil Engineering, my program, we do it over 3 SEM. So we've got topic 1 and 2, like SEM 1 and SEM 2, we're doing like chapter 1 and 2. SEM 2, we do 2, 3, and 4, and last 2 chapters, the whole thing we finish up in RP3. So we do it over 1 year, but you guys only do it over 2 semesters. And I find that some students, they are really having some difficult, like they really need to work on it. So it's okay to start early. Like if you find a supervisor, you start to look for the literature review and everything. You start early, it's okay, you know, it's fine. Then when it comes to RM, you take RM and then you start to do your you don't need to do RP1, but RM needs a topic and something from the topic, you see. And then you already have a topic. Okay, because if you're going to take beginning of the semester, go and look for a supervisor, you know, and then ding dong, you know, and then by the time you confirm on a topic, it's already week 3.
Yeah.
So better at the end of this SEM, if you are sure that you're taking RM next SEM, at the maybe week 3, I mean week 7 or week 9 or even week 10, you know, you can try to look for a supervisor after you have already observed how, you know, different lecturers, because for MSc EM is a combination of mechanical department, civil department, chemical department, and EE. So we've got a lot of different lecturers. So it depends on your interest in that sense.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the advice, Doctor.
Yeah, you can take like maybe just start to shop around for a topic now. And then the moment that RM starts, you already start. You know, you already have a topic. You can go straight into it. Yeah. And then even when you're doing RM, you already got some ideas. You can start to do literature review and all that. And then when you do take RP1 in SEM 3, say, now it's SEM 1 for you, right? Next SEM is SEM 2, right? And then when you come to SEM 1, you've already done some of the literature review. Then you're not so stressed in that sense.
Yeah.
Because it used to be 14 weeks, you know. And now because it's 12 weeks plus only 1 week for study week and 1 week for exam, and straight away the result have to go in and you start the next semester very soon. So there is not much time. So this is something that we are also having a lot of hard time, you know, with different students. Some of them really cannot manage over 1 semester. If let's say you take SEM 1, RP1, and you really feel like you have issues finishing it, talk to your supervisor. Maybe for the 4th SEM, you stop doing RP, you know, and then you finish up with your RP1, properly finish up with your RP1. Like get a pass and then properly finish up with your RP1 before you move on to RP2. Because the moment the RP2 starts, I really think personally, I would recommend a gap between RP1 and RP3, RP2. At least you can start with that. start your data collection first. Maybe in RP1, your methodology not very good yet, you know, so it's okay, you pass already, but then you stop in Sem 4, and then you take time to brush up on your methodology, and then you start your data collection, you know, and then RP, when 5th Sem, when you go in, your data is almost ready already. You do writing only, then it's just nice.
Yeah.
That
So
is
for the
my
topic,
answer.
do we choose the topic? Sorry, Dr. Macam lari from the course pula.
It's
For
okay.
the topic, right? Is it so when we approach, for example, if I approach you, do you have a existing topic, or do I have to choose my own topic? Is it like that?
We
Is
can
it like
discuss.
we can discuss, yeah.
Some lecturers, because they are holding some grants, they will have a very specific topic. Okay. Some lecturers like me, I have some grants, but I don't have a specific topic because the grants topic is already been taken by people. There's somebody doing it, but I'm open to ideas. Say if you say I want to do something more on quality management, I want to do something more on material management, you know, then we can discuss and we can refine our topic.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, you can do that. But the most important thing is for every one of you, it's the same. Whether you're taking RM, RP, RM, this SEM or not, I think choosing a topic does not mean that you have to create a topic yourself. It will usually means first most important thing is you need to find the area that you like most, and then ask Dr. Lee who is the recommended person for that area if you don't know. A lot of you are from Unimas themselves, so you already know a lot of the lecturers. You already know that they are in certain area like geotech, you know, or management, you know, and then you can directly approach them. But some of you who are not, especially people like Nickman, you know, and Shasha, and you know, and Ling Ziyuan and all that, I think you're not from here, and then you may want to get Dr. Lee to recommend, like maybe you can go and see this guy, talk to this guy, talk to this lecturer, and then from there you discuss, you come up with a topic, yeah. No specific. Some lecturers have very specific topics. Some don't. Yeah. Most of them, I would say, would basically just go by your interest, and then you all discuss, you all finalize on a topic yourself. Yeah. Okay, this one here, I'm going to show you group project first. This is 40%, and it's going to be done by in a group of 2 to 3 because some of you, there's 14 of you here, and it's going to be totally about cost management. And cost management will only come in week 7 or 8. Yeah. So what do we do now? First and foremost, after your what the aim of this is finally to come up with a budget, okay, and then to build it into the bills of quantity, and then discuss the contract mode that you will be using for this particular project. These are the final outcome that we want to see. First, you need to describe the project and the scope of work. This is related to your scope management. So you have to go and pick a project now, okay? And be kind to people who are not here physically in Unimas. If let's say people like Ibrahim and also Ling and all that, you try to include them in your group, especially some of you who already have a project. Okay, so but I think the mechanical people and the manufacturing people can stick together, like Amira, you know, and Lee Juntek, you know, you can actually have a group. The civil people, usually they will stick together because they can understand the language with each other better, but in that sense. So yeah, so what you can do is you pick a project, and then like Nigma, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of project in your hand to do this, you see. The scope of work, okay? You have a scope of work and your project, then you describe your project, meaning that where is the location, what is it about, and all that. And then the scope of work is your work breakdown, okay? And then here, you see a proposed schedule. Dr. Lee will be taking you for resources management and scheduling. So after next week, you have to produce, to me, is by next week. Hopefully, you guys have already got the group. and tell me what project you want. And then after that, I will discuss the scope of work with you, your WBS with you. Okay. Then when Dr. Lee comes in, finishing the economics with you in week 5, then week 6, she's going to do resources management. So with the scope of work, you have to start attaching your resources to your scope of work. So once she finishes her lecture, you can do resources planning. That is the assignment question. Okay, assignment is individual. Huh? Then from there, you will be attaching, she'll be doing scheduling with you. So by the time you finish her group assignment, you will have done this for me. You will already have a project schedule. So you can choose, like for this project, you can choose a separate one. But I think the way that we design it is already in such a way that you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You take a project, even though in the assignment is all individual project, is fine. Okay, you write your own individual report, but it can be the same project. So once Dr. Lee finish with you on the scheduling, among your group members, you just pick a schedule and then you show to me your schedule. And then these resources, that data sheet also will be already done in the assignment. Okay. And now when it comes to my cost, when you sit for the cost class with me, I'll be talking about costing. Then after the classes, you'll be able to do your rates, formatting, budgeting on all this. So after week 8, you can finish up on this part already. And after that, I'll do procurement with you. And then you can finish up your report after week 9, week 10. Week 10, yeah, more or less. That's how we map it out, so that you apply almost all the major topics that we have in this course. Okay. So you take this first. I will put it on ELIP. You take this first. The due date is the 31st of December. Negotiable. See how you go. If let's say you need a bit more time, we can always give you a little bit more time, but not a lot. Like I said, the university has a timing for us to submit all the marks, and going through Senate meeting, usually about 3 weeks after. Usually about 3 weeks after marks. I mean, after you finish exam. So it can be very, very tight for us. So we also cannot give you too much of extra time. Maybe another few days from this date is possible, but let me know, okay? We will discuss more on that. I mean, like when the time is nearer, whether you want to call me out and say, Doctor, can I have 3 more days, 4 more days? That's fine, you know, but not over exam date. Yeah? Exam will be, I think, the following week. Is it on the 8th or 9th? So we cannot be over this 8 or 9. Yeah, because after exam, we will straight away have to do marks meeting, and then we'll send the report into the meeting, the university level, and then we get your marks generated out very soon. Yeah. Okay, so at the moment, I think read this, post after I post this, I can put it in a group later, so all of you can have a copy straight away. Then you have a look at it and then try to think about the project that you want to do. We can discuss more about the project next week. And then after I explain project scope of work with you, WBS with you, so you all can already do your WBS, and then you can all email me. I can actually make comments over emails about your work. Yeah. So the thing is, there's 60% of marks, you know. So I do not want any one of you to take this lightly and say, you know, it's okay lah, you know, I simply do assignment and just chapalang throw everything in, you know, and then a Dr. Ting will give me good marks. I'm not like that one. You don't come and ask me for help and try to beg me for marks. So those of my students, you know, I try to help along the way with assignments, but you don't come to me and say that I want more marks to pass. If you fail, you fail. I am not going. It's my integrity as a lecturer. I cannot just simply close my eyes and give you marks. Okay. You need to give me that. You need to give me proper reports. Okay. A good report that covers everything here. Like I said, once Dr. Lee finish with you, this bit here, you can just copy from your assignment. Okay. You can copy from your assignment. You can use the same project, copy from the same assignment, or you can use different project, but the format is the same. You just have to do this and then tell me, how do you convert that into rates? I mean, how do you convert that into dollars and cents with the quantity and the rates required? Okay, and then we convert that into a proper budget plan, and that budget plan, how to put it into a BQ format, and then recommend a procurement contract mode to deliver the project. So this will be your 40%. So treat it seriously. Seriously, I'm not kidding, you know. I mean, it's like, there are people, last year, there are people who failed these subjects and they have to resit for the exam and resubmit assignments and all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah. So make use of us as we go along. We discuss, you know, and then you show us, like usually I will leave last half an hour or so to let everybody show me their assignment, show me their group project or assignment, and then we can discuss more. Dr. Lee is the same. She's very happy to help you to actually to see your work first, comment on your work first. You know, we're not going to penalize you the first draft, second draft. We will only look at the final draft when we give marks.
Okay, doctor, one question. For that one, prepare the budget in a rational format. Is there any, what type of format is it?
What I mean is rational format means that it will be like an Excel table, you know, or it can be a Word table, you know, some form of format that you create yourself. I will give you examples of different formats, different way of lining it up, but then you yourself have to logically come up with a format lah. Because what you're comfortable with, what other people are comfortable with can be different. And project management does not have, oh, there is a one format that you must follow, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay, doctor. Thank you.
It's what you're used to. Maybe your organization, you have been using that sort of format. You know, use that, it's fine, you know. Any other questions? So the most important task is after this week, get yourself into a group of 2 or 3, and then preferably just be, you know, like try to go for the same industry lah. I think it's easier. Last year we have, you know, the petrol people with the petrol people, oil and gas people with the oil and gas people, the construction people with the construction people, and then the mechanical manufacturing with the mechanical manufacturing people. So then you can use the same projects, see. But no limit lah. If you want to go for, you know, mix also can. I'm not that particular. Zainuddin, you want to take your attendance?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else just now late want to take your attendance? Okay, cannot take attendance, ga? I key in for you lah, huh?
Okay, doctor.
How come cannot? Maybe already overdue. Anyone else wants to ask me anything, talk to me about anything, please, by all means, okay?
Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask regarding your project just now. Are there any like mega project or just small projects? It's fine.
Normally, Dr. Lee and I already mentioned that we would want. We would want. I was going to talk about this next week, since you asked. Your project must have about 15 major activities.
Okay. Also, it depends on the activity lah.
The numbers of activities. So it will have to have about 15 major activities.
Okay, thank you.
But like I said, some of you are from different industry. Shasha, are you which industry are you from, Shasha?
I'm a QS.
QS. Then you have no problem. It's easy to
Yeah.
find something with 15. Yeah, but there are some people maybe from the mechanical and manufacturing. If you don't have 15, if you don't have 15 activities, major activities, we can have a chat. Like you can show me your project. There must be enough of complexities because you all are doing masters. You're not doing undergraduate studies. Even my undergraduate studies, if they do a time project, like a time course project, we have to look at about 10 to 12 activities already. So 15 is already quite minimum. But of course, like I said, different industry, we do have different kind of things, so we will see, like you can show me your project next week if it's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
I know you don't see each other, so it's a bit hard to get into groups, but unfortunately for MQA requirement for all the degrees, we must have some assignment which are individual works and some assignments that are group work, because as engineers, we have to learn to work together. That is the major thing that they are looking at. Yeah. So I know some of you are very blur, like you don't know who with who, but just knock on doors and say, hi, can I be your friends, and then can I join your group, sort of things. I don't know, All right. Oh, my nose, I'm having an allergy. Okay, if there's no more questions, you can leave now. I think we're done for today. Almost 3.5 hours. Goodness me, I don't know how I can talk for so long.
Because we're having fun, doctor. That's why.
Oh no, don't. Thank you. Good. Yeah, I hope you're learning something, something practical for you to apply to your workplace. Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
you just say there have 2 or 3 groups at I need to join one by myself. I don't know other classmates.
You want to do individual work?
Yes, no, I want to join a group, but I don't know how to join one group because I don't know everyone.
You tell me that your background is in materials, am I right?
No, my background is about manufacture is different.
Manufacturing.
No, is it's about material is mechanical.
Medical materials, am I right?
Mechanical is different materials and is also used something in the biology.
Oh, okay. Eco. Okay, eco. Okay, right. So you're more in manufacturing. Are you currently working?
No.
Have you worked before?
No, I'm just a student after my graduate.
Okay. So you have no working experience. Okay.
Yeah.
Lee Jun Tek, can you work with Ziyan, you think? Jun Tek is a mechanical engineering people. So the two of you are probably from the same industry. Same with Amira as well. Amira is in manufacturing. So the three of you will probably can be together if you want to. Or Amira, I'm not forcing anybody. It's just that that's what I'm considering now, because I think the most of the others are actually in or either oil and gas or construction. Yeah. Nick Mann is in construction. I think Riley is in construction. Aisha, you're in construction as well, right?
Maintenance, but got some
Maintenance.
construction.
Maintenance, you probably can work with Victor. Victor, you are in. Yeah, I think Victor has something to do with that as well. Yeah. Or maintenance, you can also work with Riley. The QSs are okay, I think. Yeah. Melissa, you're also in construction, am I right?
Yes, the electrical.
Electrical. Oh, well, boy, we've got
Yes.
another one. Transmission tower. Are you a civil
No,
engineer or electrical
construction.
engineer?
Electrical engineer.
Oh, okay. So who do you want to work with?
Mechanical team, maybe.
Mechanical.
M&E is okay.
So you probably can work with Lee Juntek as well. Juntek, you are from mechanical, am I right? You told me, right?
Yes, I'm from mechanical, but no working experience.
Meaning that you can't get projects. That's the thing, huh? So you speak Mandarin?
Me?
Juntek, you speak Mandarin?
Yeah, I speak Mandarin.
So you probably can communicate with Ziyuan, right? Sorry, I'm kind of forcing you. Then we will have to find you a partner that is supposed to be having some projects, huh? Do you have any idea who you want to work with already, Juntek?
Yeah, I already find Jessica as my group member.
Jessica, she is in construction, or how are you going to work with her?
Don't know, maybe crossover.
No, not really, because I think Jessica's your work is more really into construction, not so much on like road and all that. There's nothing mechanical, there's nothing to do with I mean, if you work with Nick Man, I would say it's probably more reasonable because he is in water treatment and all that. There will be mechanical parts that is available for you to understand what is going on. You see, or like just now, when you're talking to work with what was this again? Aisha, Aisha is actually in electrical, so you try to go for more similar ones lah. Put it this way lah, huh? Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for you all to speak in the same language, Yeah, Nick Man says that he has some projects that he can share with everybody, huh? But your project are all on rural water supply, lah, huh? Which definitely means that you can take in electrical people, mechanical people for that sort of things, yeah. Come on, you guys have to really think about your group, huh? Victor, are you around, Victor?
Yes, Doctor.
Any idea on what project you want to do?
I'll partner with Zainuddin later.
Allah, you memang partner with Zainuddin lah. I know already. Amira, you want to work with who?
I'm going to work with Rayleigh.
Rayleigh, you guys are different industry, right? Completely different industry, right?
Yeah, but we used to do projects since the first semester.
Oh, okay lah. Understand now. Huh?
Doctor, I think actually no issue to crossover because I think for a construction project, even though M&E has a very little and not as big as the civil scope, but we do have we do deal with M&E work as well lah. That is, I think for my projects, the projects that I've handled so far lah, in my very little small experience of working.
That's fine. Okay, if you guys don't mind crossover, I'll let you go ahead with crossover. Those people who don't come up with the project, then they will have to work more on coming up with the schedule, doing some of the more physical things, like coming up with the tables, that sort of things. You all, I honestly tell you, I'm not forcing you guys to be together or anything like that, or to dismember some of you. It's not like that. The important thing is you need to choose your own group member, and then you don't come and complain to me that your group member are not doing anything or doing something poorly and create a problem for you not to get the good marks. You all are doing a master degree, okay? And masters of engineering management some more, huh? So you all know that management, even if you have very, very bad, poor group members, you have to carry him or her with you anyway, because the most important thing is the project have to be completed. Okay? If they don't do well, you have to work with them. All right?
Prof, how many
Yes?
people in a group, Prof? How many people in a group?
2 to 3.
Oh, okay.
Jessica, do you mind, since you are with Juntech, can you mind to bring Ziyuan along with you?
I'm actually okay. Okay, I have no issue as well. I'm open for anyone actually.
Okay,
Because
just be friend with Ziyuan. Next time you go to China, he will bring you around, okay?
oh yeah, Kak.
He
But
will
I'm
bring
not
you
sure.
go.
I want to ask actually Ziyan if he has WhatsApp or not.
He has. His WhatsApp is with in the group already.
Oh, okay. All right, good to know.
Okay.
Maybe our
Because
group leader Juntek, maybe you can add him.
Juntek, you will be the translator, huh? Juntek, huh?
All right, I'll approach him after this.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
okay.
so
Also, I actually can speak Mandarin as well. No issue.
oh, really? Oh, see, I'm so good at finding people to work with each other. Okay, good. Okay, good. You can speak Mandarin. You come from Chinese school.
Yeah.
Ah, excellent. Yeah, Ziyuan. So we found you some friends already, huh?
Yes, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. So Juntek will contact you. They both can speak Mandarin, but you must do your part, You must do your part well, Don't disappoint them,
Yes, I know.
Yeah, because if not, then next sem, third sem, you still have to find people to work with, Then you will have no friends, Okay. Then the rest of you cantum yourself, reggae yourself, okay? The rest is locker already. Ibrahim, I'm pretty sure you can find somebody because you are from civil previously. Ibrahim at the moment is in Pakistan also, so I think it's no issue if you want to find construction people and you speak English as well. I think there's not much of an issue, Ibrahim, are you still around?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you find your own group member,
All right, okay.
Okay, if you have issues, you let me know,
All right, sure.
Okay then, thank you everyone. Bye bye. Any other questions?
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, you can move out if you want. Okay, if you don't, then that's it. I'm still around if you want to talk to me. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you, Doctor.